Picture this, you just drove off the lot, or more likely, picked up the keys from some guy's driveway after finding the deal of a lifetime online. The loan payment is manageable. You did the math, you're feeling good. Here's what nobody told you. The sticker price is the cheapest part of owning a German luxury car. The real bill doesn't show up once. It shows up every single month quietly in a dozen different places. The insurance renewal that makes you wince, the fuel light that comes on every 3 days, and then one morning, a warning light on the dash that turns into a $4,000 invoice before lunch. Today, we're counting down 5 German cars that can cost over $1,000 a month just to keep on the road. Not to buy, to own. And by the end of this video, I'm going to compare that number to something that might genuinely make you sick, a house payment. Let's start with the one that'll hurt the least. Number 5, Porsche Panamera Turbo, first generation. The first generation Panamera Turbo is one of the great depreciation traps of the last 15 years. New, this car stickered north of $140,000. Today, you can find a clean, well-optioned example for $25,000 to $35,000. That sounds like the deal of the century until you understand exactly why it's cheap. The depreciation already happened. Somebody else ate that loss. What didn't get cheaper is everything underneath the skin. The twin-turbo V8, the active air suspension, the electronically controlled anti-roll bars, the PDK gearbox that's phenomenal when it's healthy and absolutely brutal on your wallet when it isn't. Start with insurance and you're looking at somewhere around $180 to $250 a month, more if you're under 30. Then fuel. This thing drinks premium at around 16 to 18 miles per gallon in real-world driving, so tack on another $220 to $280. But the number that really adds up is maintenance. Those air suspension struts fail, and when they do, you're paying $1,200 to $1,800 per corner to replace them. A full brake job with genuine Porsche parts can run $2,000 on its own. Spread a realistic annual repair budget across 12 months, and you're adding another $350 to $500 every single month. Add it all up, and you're sitting at roughly $1,050 just to keep this car alive. Here's the irony nobody talks about. That cheap purchase price you got so excited about, it exists because of this exact math. The used market already knows most owners can't keep up with these repair bills, which is exactly why so many of these Panameras end up back on Facebook Marketplace a year later with needs suspension work buried in the description. Number 4, Audi R8 V10. The R8 has an image problem that actually works in its favor when people are shopping, and against them once they own it. Because it shares a platform with the Lamborghini Hurricane, people assume it must be reliable, the way a normal Audi is reliable. It isn't. Underneath that familiar 4-ring badge is a mid-engine supercar, and supercars come with supercar bills no matter whose logo is on the hood. Insurance alone will run you $250 to $350 a month, sometimes more depending on where you live and how old you are. This is a high-value performance car, and insurers price it accordingly. The 5.2-liter V10 isn't shy about drinking premium fuel either, averaging around 15 miles per gallon, which adds another $220 to $300 a month. But the real damage comes from the big ticket items that sneak up on you. Clutch replacement can run $3,000 to $4,000. A full set of the supercar spec tires this car needs costs $1,800 to $2,500, and they don't last long when you're actually using the power you paid for. A major 60,000-mile service can blow past $3,500 in a single visit. Spread a realistic annual repair budget across 12 months, and you're adding another $350 to $400 every single month. Total it all up, and you're looking at roughly $1,150 a month just to keep this car alive. Here's the trap. With the R8, it feels completely ownable. It has a real trunk, a comfortable cabin, none of the drama you'd expect from something this fast. That comfort is exactly what lulls buyers into treating it like a nice sports car, instead of the low-volume exotic it actually is underneath. Number 3, Mercedes-Benz CL600. This is where the list stops being surprising and starts being genuinely alarming because the CL600 is now shockingly cheap to buy. We're talking 10-year-old examples of this twin-turbo V12 Grand Tour selling for $12,000 to $18,000. Read that again. That is not a typo, and it should not tempt you the way it wants to. This was Mercedes' flagship coupe, and it came loaded with active body control hydraulic suspension, a twin-turbo V12, air-cooled seats, a level of electronic complexity that was cutting-edge when it launched, and is now a minefield for anyone without deep pockets. Ironically, insurance is one of the cheaper line items here, since the car's value has cratered, maybe $120 to $280 a month. Fuel is a different story. That V12 sips premium at around 13 to 15 miles per gallon, adding another $280 to $330 a month. But here's the number that ends careers. Each of the 4 hydraulic suspension struts can cost $1,500 to $2,500 to replace individually. Add in failing airbags, degrading wiring harnesses, and a balance shaft on the V12 that's notorious for failure, and you're looking at a car that can quietly become a $10,000 a year money pit. Budget realistically, and that's another $500 to $700 every single month just to keep it running. All in, roughly $1,300 a month. The CL600 is the textbook example of why a cheap used luxury car is often the most expensive car you'll ever own. The depreciation already happened to the previous owner. What you're inheriting are the exact repair bills that made them sell it in the first place. Number 2, Maserati Ghibli. Technically, this one's Italian badged, not German, but it earns its spot on this list because it's constantly cross-shopped with every German sports sedan we've talked about at a nearly identical price point, with a reliability reputation that's genuinely worse. Insurance runs comparable to the R8, around $200 to $280 a month, given the car's value and its repair cost profile. The twin-turbo V6, built with Ferrari-sourced engineering, is actually one of the more reasonable parts of ownership, at 17 to 19 miles per gallon. Call it $200 to $250 a month in fuel. But the real problem shows up the moment the warranty runs out. Owners routinely report electrical gremlins, infotainment systems that stop working for no discernible reason, and transmission issues that come out of nowhere. Independent Maserati specialists are rare, which pushes almost everything back to the dealer, at labor rates that can exceed $200 an hour. One visit to chase down an unresolved electrical fault can easily run $1,500 to $3,000. Owners outside of warranty commonly report annual repair budgets of $5,000 to $8,000, which works out to $400 to $600 every month. And then there's depreciation, which is genuinely brutal on this car. 10 to 15% of its value evaporating every year for the first 5 years. On a $70,000 Ghibli, that alone is $500 to $700 in value walking out the door, whether you sell it or not. Total it all up, and the Ghibli lands at roughly $1,450 a month. The Ghibli looks like it belongs parked next to a 5 Series or an E-Class. It does not behave like one once the warranty clock runs out. Even routine problems on this car become expensive just to diagnose, let alone fix. Number 2, BMW M6 F13. The F13 generation M6 tops this list, and if you already own one, you're probably nodding right now. This is the car people buy because the used price has dropped into the $35,000 to $50,000 range, and a 560 horsepower twin-turbo V8 Grand Tour at that price feels like an absolute steal. It is not. Insurance runs $220 to $300 a month, reflecting both the car's performance profile and the cost of repairing it. The S63 twin-turbo V8 is officially rated around 17 miles per gallon, but the moment you drive this car the way it wants to be driven, that number drops closer to 13 or 14, another $250 to $300 gone. But maintenance is where the M6 separates itself from everything else on this list. The S63 engine is known for turbo coolant line issues, timing chain guide wear, and Vanos problems as the miles pile on. A single turbo replacement can run $3,000 to $5,000 per side. Carbon buildup from direct injection means periodic walnut blasting at $600 to $900 a visit. Owners who are actually staying ahead of problems rather than reacting to breakdowns routinely budget $6,000 to $10,000 a year, which comes out to $500 to $800 a month. Then add depreciation, still steep at this price point, another $300 to $400 a month, because the buyer's pool for an aging performance coupe like this keeps shrinking. Total monthly cost of ownership, roughly $1,600. The M6 earns the top spot because it stacks every single risk factor from this entire list into one car: a complex, high-strung engine, a shrinking pool of buyers, repair work that only a handful of specialists can even attempt, and a purchase price low enough to lure in buyers who genuinely can't afford what comes next. The reality check. So let's put this in perspective, because a number like $1,600 a month doesn't mean much until you compare it to something real. At current mortgage rates, that's roughly the payment on a $300,000 to $320,000 house. That's not a hypothetical. That's real money. Money that every single month is either building equity in a home or disappearing quietly into a turbocharger housing. None of this means these cars are bad. Every single one of them delivers something a Camry never will: the sound, the speed, the way people's heads turn when you pull up. But experience and expense are two different conversations, and too many buyers only ever do the math on the loan payment. They never touch the other four numbers that actually decide whether a car ruins them financially. If you're shopping in this world, here's the rule I would give you. Whatever the car costs to buy, assume it costs that same amount again every 2 or 3 years, just to keep it running. If that number doesn't scare you, you're ready for it. If it does, there's genuinely no shame in a Lexus. If this just saved you from a very expensive mistake or confirmed one you already made, tell me in the comments which one of these you'd still buy anyway. And subscribe, because next week we're running these same numbers on Italian exotics, and it only gets worse from here.